What's up, world?
I just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
They
Insert here.
Yo.
It's a terrible game. Bottom line. It's terrible in every way. Graphically, it's terrible. Gameplay is terrible. It's just terrible.
Angry Nick mad.
That game sucked, and it's gonna suck no matter how many revisions they make, and it just sucked even more because they put a Kinect with it.
Angry Nick mad. Or if there's violence, I'll just laugh and enjoy the fun.
Kaz Hazari.
Kaz Harai.
They just kind of got tired of Angry Nick on the first one and say, I'm going to pass.
Oh, yeah, so I do.
It's me.
Precisely.
No.
I
No.
do all my work.
No.
And
You guys are
unfortunately, I
so
don't.
cute.
Oh, thank you. I try.
I mean, let's face it, Mario and to a lesser extent Zelda is what carries Nintendo at this point.
Always be radical.
I love you, little podcast. You're the bestest thing ever.
For the promise of a new Super Smash Bros. And the Zelda game, yes.
You will not find a better story presented in any other game genre, in my personal opinion. Like, JRPGs have that. They have that story.
That's what the entire game felt like. Oh my god, I want to bang my head into a wall.
It's a podcast again? Can someone remind me? I thought it was a video game podcast.
You're listening to the Game Source Podcast.
And we're live once again. It's another Game Source podcast, along with our good friends at the NU Herald. This is Gerald Glassford. How are you today? I'm here with my good friend, my longtime broadcast partner, Chris Bonner. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Gerald.
Otherwise known as the X-Wolf, the Killer X-Wolf. Killer X-Wolf. It's been a long time since I did. Yes, well, you haven't said hello world in a long time as well.
So, as a good introduction to coming back is hello world.
There you go. The man, the myth, the legend himself. We are here talking E3. It's going to be a short, brief summary of what we've seen so far because, well, quite frankly, from all the press conferences that we've made available through our Game Source Facebook and Twitter sites as far as providing all the news, it hasn't been that, I guess you should say, explosive as far as news is concerned. Just a lot of gameplay reveal, CG trailers, some new IPs that are announced, but nothing really spectacular, and a whole mess of VR. So we'll get right into it. Chris, your thoughts, basically, what are some of your highlights so far of E3 2016 as far as the press conferences are concerned?
Gerald, you know me, right?
Mr. Xbox, I know you, but people listening out there or watching out there, because we're now going to be also on iTunes, as all of our podcasts are recently announced, have been put on our new Game Source Podcast iTunes channel, as well as the NU Herald iTunes channel as well. And so we're happy to be a part of that. But they may not be as familiar with your Xbox fondness. So tell me your thoughts on, I guess, predominantly Xbox.
Well, the whole entire press conference, world, all the different ones that came on, all of them were amazing. Microsoft announced a lot of cool things. Sony had a great performance. I mean, they basically had a show go on while they were explaining all the new VR content, all the new games, all this other stuff that's coming out. PC World was pretty cool. Bethesda had some pretty cool announcements with some older games as well as newer IPs. And all of it in general was just overwhelming. It was amazing to see how much new content could be coming out. And I don't think any of them were really disappointing. Whereas in past years, I remember, one was like, one was okay, one was all of them were 8s and above out of 10.
I kind of disagree with you. EA was really didn't show me anything new.
I forgot about EA.
I don't. A lot of people forgot about EA because they really didn't show anything new. When one of the highlights is you showing the managers for FIFA, that you now have the ability to show managers for FIFA, or AKA coaches, however you want to say it. for FIFA, that really doesn't tell you much. I mean, they showed a lot of what was already there. In fact, for Battlefield 1, the best way to demonstrate Battlefield 1 was actually after their press conference when they showed an hour of footage of a 32 by 32 player battle. And that was actually very much more interesting than the actual press conference itself. I mean, yes, they did show that behind the scenes stuff as far as the future for Star Wars, but it really didn't show us any real footage that we want to be able to sink our teeth into. So Star Wars fans actually had to wait until the Sony press conference until they actually got something substantial there. For me, I was kind of confused as far as the direction Xbox wants to go in. Yes, they want to make a smaller, lighter weight, 4K compatible Xbox One, which they're going to be releasing in August. That's great, starting at $299. But then they, at the back end, they announced Project Scorpio coming out in holiday 2017, which is going to be a much more substantially powerful a new concept in console gaming, which, even though they said on the surface that no console player of the Xbox One family will be left behind, essentially still leaves the Xbox One family behind, because if you're making games that are going to conform to the Scorpio and then scale it down to the Xbox One and the Xbox One S, which is the smaller version, kind of leaves those Xbox One members out as far as getting the best quality game, and almost forcing them to go ahead and upgrade into a new console in 2017 after
But
they just bought one.
They still get the content. They still get to play it. There's no leaving out them. They just don't get to play it in the higher quality. It's the same thing as computers. You can go and buy a $500 sorry wow, a $500 gaming computer, or a $2,000 gaming computer. Obviously, the $2,000 one's going to be better, but you had the option. You can start with a 500, buy a 2,000. You can straight jump to the $2,000 one, whatever you need to. The Xbox One is just going in that same direction. You just have more capability by going to a higher model. It's the computers have been doing it for 20 plus years. I think it makes sense that, gaming consoles that are basically computers, they talk about them having 8-core processors and these 4K graphics cards and everything built into them. They're basically talking about computers at this point. Why not make multiple models, or make them where you can upgrade them later? At least this is a step into getting a better performance, where you have all these PC master race people talking about how great PCs are and how great this is because they can do this and consoles can't. If consoles can now do it, give them an option to say, hey, you can spend a lot of money and get the absolute best, or you can spend a little bit less and still play everything, just not quite the very best.
Just not. So I would be buying a console this holiday that would essentially not be quite the very best.
Not, well, the best for what's out now, it would be. Now, the only thing is, later on, yes, there will be a more upgraded version, but you can't tell me that Alienware doesn't put out a new model every year that's better than the last year's.
That's true. But the audience that it tries to connect with is much smaller in demographics than the one that the Xbox One is trying to reach.
True. But that's where they have the standard Xbox One and One S still, is for the family users. The hardcore gamers that just know they're going to go all out will buy Project Scorpio. Then Microsoft knows this. They know that they're going to have that demographic imbalance. Like, there's always 80% here but 20% there of hardcore gamers to family gamers. Then maybe they're just going to make both so that way they can still even it out. It's not going to disrupt anyone's gameplay. That everyone will have the same gameplay. No one's going to have more mods than one, or no one's going to have more any type of advantage in the game. It's just going to look better. So it's more just a cosmetic thing for the people that are either richer and can afford that kind of stuff and a 4K TV. But for the standard of us that still use 1080p TVs, it doesn't matter which console you get, because they're both going to work.
When it comes to the Sony side, they were more direct as far as showing a plethora of games. which I know most in the media and fans, as far as is concerned, were lauding. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't focus at all on something that they had done in previous conferences. Was that the smaller independent games that were coming to the PlayStation 4? I would have liked to seen a mention and a shout out to them just to make sure to keep them happy. And then also as well the rumored PlayStation Neo, which was confirmed by Sony's president last week, was not even mentioned at all in the conference. I guess to be saved for a later date when they're more prepared, which is fine. I have no problems with that as far as an upgraded PlayStation 4. Their plans are seem to be somewhat aligned with Xbox as far as providing a 4K option as far as it's concerned, even though that most people do not still have a 4K television at this time. But it, as you know, cycles forward, nobody was really having a 1080 television when consoles were made to be 1080 compatible and whatnot. So it's a cycle. It's looking forward. It's looking ahead, and I can appreciate that. But there was no mention of the Neo in the conference. They just focused on games. A lot of PSVR was put down. So if you're not interested in VR, half the conference was probably not for you. I did kind of someone who's not really been on the fence with VR, kind of was a little upset that I have to go now and buy a $399 unit in order to go ahead and get the Star Wars space missions that I had so desperately asked for in Star Wars Battlefront. So that being said, I was kind of a little irked by that. But Star Trek Bridge Crew looks like a lot of fun, and makes me want to go ahead and stop over to my nearest Best Buy and see my friends that hopefully will have that demo available. But still doesn't want to make me jump out and go out and get to spend $400 or $600 for the Rift or the Vive or 400 for and plus with all the accessories that you need for the PSVR and whatnot. Seems very. It seems nice. It seems there's a lot of great demos and slices that are going to be sent to VR as far as is concerned, but does not still seem to have that one thing that grabs a lot of people into it. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested because of the novelty of VR, but it still yet remains to be seen if it's going to hang on with the audience at large and be something that a lot of audiences are going to be into. But to your thoughts on the VR as far as it's concerned, I know Sony did have some announcements such as the new Spider-Man game that's in development and some other titles, but mainly a lot of their focus was on PSVR. Your comments as far as the emphasis on VR, not only the Sony conference, but as a whole with Bethesda and others focusing quite a bit on VR in their programs.
Well, I think VR, I mean, considering the hype that it's all right now, it's making sense that they're going to be more pushy towards that. And especially because Sony said, hey, we have PlayStation VR. Hey, it's going to come out this year. But everyone's like, what do you have that's going to make me, can I play Call of Duty on this? Can I do this? They need to at least announce now what they're working on so that way they get people excited about the VR now. Makes sense why they went heavy on VR. Some of the games, like the first-person Final Fantasy looked pretty cool. All the different other games, and then of course Bethesda even announced a few games that are going to be VR compatible. But it's more like trying to get it out there, saying, "Hey, this will be a possibility." Not that it may happen this year, maybe it'll happen next year, but it's a good thing to kind of plant the seed now and tell them, "Hey, VR is coming. Get ready for it. You're going to get it on your consoles. You're going to get it on your PC, but it is coming and you should be ready." So I think it's a good thing that they started talking a lot about it this conference or this E3.
Oh, and I'm not saying otherwise. I know they had to. I mean, if you've got that product that's in a lot of cases that's out now because Vive is out now, Oculus Rift is out now. I mean, you have to go ahead and start showing your support for it. PlayStation VR is right around the corner. Of course, you do have to go ahead and say that. But for a lot of people, it is still something that they're not going to be interested in. And people are still, can't get by the motion sickness and some other issues as far as putting it on. Plus, also the sheer cost of having to spend something that's considered by many still an accessory for the console market. But otherwise, like I said, if you are interested in VR, then definitely the C3 was for you, because there's dozens and dozens of games that were actually announced for VR and for virtual reality. At least the short-term future looks very bright, because with tens of games announced and literally probably hundreds of more in development, there's seems to be, at least at the beginning, seemingly no end as far as the plethora of samples, of titles, of games, of demos that will be coming to the VR market.
So the other thing as well, like, I mean, speaking of accessories, like, this was a weird thing. I was completely backwards on everything. I thought that Sony's press conference was going to be more hardware related, whereas Microsoft's would be more software related because of all the exclusives and everything coming out. It almost seemed to be backwards. Xbox announced 2 consoles, an Elite controller and a customizable controller, where PlayStation talked nothing about hardware. I mean,
and maybe that's good. Well, I think that's probably, Sony seems to have found a niche in the past couple of years as far as it's concerned. They have been more, software focused as far as it's concerned. They just, with their E3s, because I believe their E3, they realize their E3 fits when they do their E3 conference, it fits a broader audience than their Gamescom, than their Paris Week, than their PlayStation Experience, which are more, hardcore focused. So I think it's in their best interest to be broad and just say, hey, people just care about the games. They just want to see the games. The casual audience just is interested in just the games. They're not really interested in Project Scorpio at this point in time. They're not, maybe not even interested in Xbox Slim at this point in time. They're just interested in what are you going to show me, and what's coming out, and what's on the horizon that they want to see. So Xbox One did have some ups and downs. Obviously Gears of War 4 showed tremendous, but and there were some other good points as well, although there were some down points. Scalebound was not impressive at all to me. In fact, it was kind of annoying as it bordered on, because their character was really trying to overdo it as far as it's concerned. It took away from what they were trying to represent. There were some other issues I had with it, but there with some other their games. But Recore looks like a very solid title indeed. I think that's something that they can latch on to. Obviously Forza Horizon 3, which was just announced, that looks like a tremendous driving title once again for the Forza series. There were some definitely high points for it, but it's just the way that it flows. Their conference does not flow very well, and I think you have a tendency to lose the audience if it doesn't flow very well. Whereas Sony, regardless of you like it or you don't like it, as far as the PSVR or whatever, it was just a sheer series of games, and it flowed right through. I mean, the only question, like I said, is as far as from the past, is the Call of Duty, as far as where they threw that in there, that was kind of weird at first, because I did not know at first it was the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare as far as it's concerned.
Infinite Warfare, but yeah,
Infinite Warfare, and then
I thought it was gonna be a space
game
or something.
So that brings me to my thing as far as it's concerned, Star Wars VR mission. So I have to spend $400 for a Star Wars to get the space mission I wanted from Battlefront. But instead, I could just go ahead and spend $60 and get the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, space battles, which seemingly seem kind of fun. It's probably in a Call of Duty campaign, very short. It's a small set piece, similar to what Halo Reach. It reminds me what Halo Reach did with that one ship level that was really interesting to a lot of people, and wish they had expanded on it, but never did. I hope certainly that Call of Duty, that Activision will expand on it, because it looked very impressive. That part, as far as being out in space and then going in, interacting as far as it's concerned with the grappling hook and whatnot, that actually brought me back into the Call of Duty universe and brought interest to it. And I would love to see even a hey, I'm gonna throw this out there. I even hope that there's a multiplayer mode for that space for those space battles, because that would really be cool, especially in the something that would be different even for the Call of Duty genre.
Yeah, like to give it,
And,
fighting style instead of just first person shooting. I mean, I think that would completely branch out their franchise at that point.
oh, it would be an awesome deal, and for something that was garnered a lot of bad publicity when it first was announced, as opposed to Battlefield One. That's neither here nor there. I'm sorry that it's funny how the times have changed. At Battlefield One, they showed the same lousy video all over the place and didn't really show off until they actually had the 64 player game after the conference, which boggled my mind how they so expertly showed off Battlefield One in the beginning when they originally announced it, and failed missteps in the Xbox when they showed it as part of the Xbox, and also as well as part of the EA press conferences. So, but what remains to be seen. I'm sure we'll be seeing some good highlights from both. There are a lot of other interesting tidbits as well. Nintendo this morning also the latest Zelda title was shown off for Wii U. Looked pretty good as far as it's concerned. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it as of yet, but Nintendo didn't announce that much. They're basically holding everything back for their NX announcement when they make it, hopefully later this year. But who knows with them. But Nintendo really just seems like an afterthought right now, and they need to do a lot more to get themselves back in the game. Your thoughts?
Well, the other thing as well, I mean, I'm doing conspiracy theorist stuff and plotting things together. The Ubisoft press conference, they were talking about Just Dance 2017 coming out, which they come out with a new one every year anyways. It's like Call of Duty. But it seemed like they said something about putting that on NX or the next Nintendo console. Meaning that you would assume...
Oh yeah, you have a Wii U version and also an NX version.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point, wouldn't you assume that maybe they're going to release the NX by the end of this year? Because if 2017 Just Dance comes out in October, that means the game or the console should be coming out at the same time.
No, it won't. The way they phrase it is when the NX comes out. So I have a feeling the Nintendo NX will not be released until next year. In fact, I think they announced that it would be coming out. The time frame that would be probably spring next year, if I remember correctly.
But most consoles don't come out at that time. If Nintendo's smart, they're going to release during the holiday season. It's either this holiday season or next. If they wait till next,
but I think I was discussing it with Josh in a previous one. Nintendo doesn't always make what the fiscally sound moves. Although in the springtime, games are now selling well in the springtime, so maybe consoles can move as well. The Wii U originally did not release during a typical ship time, so I don't know if that's foreboding in any way, but I know that, like I said, the NX is, I believe, from what I remember on our last podcast, is coming out in sometime in the spring of 2017. So it be that as it may, Just Dance will come out then for it, but I know Just Dance is also going to come out this holiday season. And then The Legend of Zelda will be coming out alternatively for the Wii U and the NX. So something to look forward to for Nintendo fans, but there's really, when you, if you're a Nintendo fan and you see all the stuff announced by Sony. In fact, Sony had so many things that are PS4 exclusive, they couldn't even announce all of it on their platform conference, which was ridiculous that they have so many things coming out for it right now. But then again, that's what happens when you're leading the sales. Xbox One, they're same thing. They had a lot of stuff that they wanted to show off and whatnot. And all these other Bethesda with Skyrim, redone. I wish it would have been Oblivion, but oh well. Back to Elder Scrolls. They announced everything Elder Scrolls except for a new, really Elder Scrolls, which was kind of a bummer.
From Skyrim and Oblivion, which one sold more originally? Skyrim. So why bring back Oblivion? It's a dead horse. Don't bring it back. Skyrim is still living. There's still mods now with the modded community trying to reach over. They'll probably bring over mods. I'm just saying, I think Skyrim was a better choice.
I guess so. Financially, it's a better choice, but Oblivion is a better game.
You know what?
Sorry.
But I mean, most people didn't get into them until Skyrim. Unfortunately, I mean, not many people were into Oblivion back in 2007 or 8 when it came out. They were
Uh,
just
Sorry, just Oblivion was a better game to me. I still played. I got stuck in Skyrim, a bug in Skyrim, and I just left it. And I didn't feel emotional about leaving it either. So I guess it didn't leave that remnants that with me. I'll probably buy it. I'll probably get back into it again just to see if it has a better taste for me this time around. But would have been nicer Oblivion for me. But you're right, Skyrim is definitely the better choice. But Dishonored 2 looks good. There's a lot of games out there. If they get a chance, check us out at Game Source on Facebook or Game Source on Twitter. We have the entire story after story after story. I've posted personally hundreds of stories around the internet regarding the latest video game news. So check that out. Like us on our Facebook, and you get that all fed to you right away. But it's a great time to be a gamer as E3 starts. You can check out all the streams on Twitch and all the other formats as well. But last thoughts before we head on out, Chris, as far as your impressions of E3 2016 at this point?
well. I mean, I think we've got a lot to look forward to. I know it's going to be great. I'm like this mad that I'm not there right now because there's just so much more that I feel like I could see and do. I want to be hands on with. I want to see a lot more of the developers talking about their things, but I I feel like this is definitely an E3 to be reckoned with. I feel more like this is a Christmas time than any other time. It's a gamer's Christmas. It's all this new stuff is being announced, from classic games like Crash Bandicoot being remade to new titles to repeats of fan favorites like Dishonored and Titanfall. But I mean, all the things that they could be announcing right now are kind of hitting every market. They're going all the way back from the early 80s even to now, just bringing up all these cool games and all these new things. I think that E3 2016 is probably one of the best ones in the past few years.
Well, I can't say I disagree with you from that point. If The Last Guardian finally gets a release date, and it is,
Which
that
they said, but September or maybe
it's
not September.
October 25th, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
But if it
but
doesn't get pushed back,
if it doesn't get pushed back, because there have been people that have my children were born after the original announcement of to give you that idea. I believe even my 10-year-old, my 10-year-old, I believe, was born after the original announcement of to give you that kind of idea of The Last Guardian. So very funny there. Just take that all in, sink that all in of how much money Sony has put into that game, and it's never going to get back. But at least it's coming out.
Yeah.
So that makes it E3 2016 worthwhile. So we appreciate you joining us from all of our friends at Game Source. Give us a like, Game Source on Facebook, Game Source on Twitter, our home site, yourgamesource.com. And also check out our great site as far as is concerned, a great site that provides a lot of news from around the world. Great columns, great opinions. I know Michelle, the editor-in-chief there, she does a great job with it. It's the NU Herald, the official publication for the NU Herald, the official publication, hopefully they think it's official, for National University. I've done a lot of work for it. Read my columns up on there. They appear on occasion there exclusively, or also as well on yourgamesource.com. So for me, Gerald Glassford, it's also a beautiful day in paradise. We wish you safe travels out there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Chris, any last thoughts?
Just be the best you can be and enjoy your E3. But always check us out and everything like that. And hopefully you all enjoy it as much as I know we will.
Same here as well. So for Chris, this is Gerald. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And have yourselves a great day.
Good night, world.
There you go.
Do you love games, breathe games, and bleed games? Then this is the crew for you. If you are interested in editorial, podcasting, live events, and exclusive content, make sure to hit us up at info@yourgamesource.com and become part of a team that is dedicated to delivering all the greatest and latest in gaming news and content, all here at yourgamesource.com.